welcome back to Sweet Magnolias. Today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make the easiest, best homemade biscuits you have ever made. And the best thing about this recipe is that it only takes 2 ingredients. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that you're going to need is the Southern Biscuit Formula L biscuit mix and some whole cultured buttermilk. So the first thing you're going to do is go ahead and preheat your oven to 450 degrees so that can already be started while you do your biscuit mix. But I am going to actually freeze these biscuits, so I'm also going to show you guys how to do that today. And so I'm not going to preheat my oven, but we're going to go ahead and get started with mixing up the biscuits. So you're going to want to grab yourself a 1 cup measuring cup and a 1/4 cup measuring cup, because you're going to need that for both measurements of both the buttermilk and the Southern Biscuit mix. I'm going to go ahead and add my 3 1/4 cup of Southern Biscuit mix to the bowl. Now this already has shortening flakes in it, so that's the genius of the Southern Biscuit mix, is that it already has the butter in it for you. You can actually go ahead and buy this as just the biscuit flour that does not have the shortening flakes in it, which means you're just going to have to cut your own butter into it. I personally hate cutting butter into things, so I prefer to just buy this kind because all you have to do is just add the butter and it's fine. But like I said, it's a 3 1/4 cup of the Southern Biscuit mix. Okay, and then for your buttermilk, it calls for 1 1/4 cup of buttermilk. You're gonna mix this with a wooden spoon. I just tend to like wooden spoons better when you have to hand mix things. And a fun thing, if you didn't know about buttermilk, if you've never used buttermilk, obviously you cannot just drink pure buttermilk. I mean, I guess you could, but it's really, really gross. But buttermilk will actually separate over time. So I opened up my buttermilk and thought it was bad, but it wasn't. I just needed to shake it up to mix it again because it tends to separate. With this biscuit dough, you're not going to want to work it too hard because the more you work it, the less fluffy your biscuits will be. So about this consistency where it's it's not perfectly mixed. That's going to be the kind of consistency that you're going to want to start patting it out and making some biscuits with. The way I was always showed to do this is to add a little bit of the flour to your surface so that it doesn't stick too badly when you pour your dough onto it. I've always done this with any kind of dough that I had to roll out or pat out on a surface. If you add a little bit of flour to the surface and also a little to your hands, it helps it stop sticking quite so much. Now I'm just going to scoop my dough out onto my floured surface, and it does not have to be perfectly rolled out or round or anything like that. You're just basically going to pat it out so that you're able to cut biscuits on it. My dough was just a little bit stickier than I wanted it to be, so I added a little bit more flour. But since I'm going to freeze these, I've got this baking sheet here with some tin foil on it. I ideally would use parchment paper, but I don't have any, so I'm going to use tin foil. And I do not have a biscuit cutter, so I'm going to use the top of this glass. This has been washed since the last time I used it. I tried to cut out a biscuit and it was way too sticky, so I fixed that. But I'm gonna use the top of this glass to just start cutting my biscuits out and laying them on the baking sheet. See, I've got my biscuits patted out here. This made 6 biscuits, but like I said, it all depends on how many biscuits you want and how thick you want them as to like how much you pat them out and things like that. This one did not look too pretty, and I think it's because I had already cut that section, but when this cooks, it'll come together on its own. These are very low maintenance biscuits. They're not going to be, I'll show you guys what the cooked biscuits look like at the end because I did cook these the other day and get some footage. They're not like pretty French biscuits or anything. They are just basic, regular breakfast biscuits. They're really good with jam. They're really good with eggs, gravy. So I'm gonna let these set up in the freezer. I'm gonna stick these in the freezer for about 5 to 10 minutes until they set up a little bit because you can't put these in freezer bags like this because they will get sticky. So I'm gonna put them in there for about 5 to 10 minutes. I'll let you guys know the exact amount of time before I put them in the bags, and then I'm gonna show you what the finished cooked biscuits look like when they come out of the oven. As you can see, biscuit making is quite the mess. So I ended up leaving these in the freezer for about 17 minutes, and they set up enough to where they're not going to stick together once I put them in the freezer bags. And then I just went ahead and put them in individual freezer bags, and we will have these whenever we're ready to have biscuits. So that is how you make homemade biscuits. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe so that you can be notified when I post future videos. And also, my Instagram handle is always in the description box below. So if you try this recipe, tag me on Instagram. I would love to see how yours turned out. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.